Okay, here we are, WWE Battleground 2017, the SmackDown exclusive show. Okay, first things first, yes, I am aware that AJ Styles won the United States Championship at a house show in Madison Square Garden. I'll get a little bit more into my feelings on that when we cover the match tonight. Okay, anyway, our first match is Aiden English versus Ty Dillinger. A rematch from Backlash. And yes, another kickoff show match for these two. Really, this was boring as all get out. So many rest holds starting off. It was just rest hold after rest hold after rest hold. I mean, they actually did start to pick up a little bit. English whipped Dillinger face first into one of the turnbuckles. Dillinger began to come back. He had a big nasty chop. He tried to stomp a mud hole in the corner. He did the 10 punches. Dillinger countered a double axe handle with a drop kick. Dillinger hit a spine buster and got a 2 count. Later on, another point in the match, Aiden English was actually singing a song while he was holding Dillinger in a headlock. English hit a facebuster for a 2 count. It's at this point English decided to try to hit the tiebreaker. Dillinger fought out of that, got into a victory roll. They got fighting out of it. They got back into the corner again. And Aiden English hit some sort of move. I didn't quite see it. I think it was a facebuster again. And that was enough for the 3 count and the victory. So, yeah, pretty boring match and 50-50 booking at its finest. Okay, our next match is the SmackDown Tag Team Championship match. The Usos versus The New Day. This was far and away the best match of the night. Kofi and Xavier were the tag team on the New Day's side in this case. Kofi and Jay started things off. Kofi and Xavier tagged in, and they both hit dueling splashes on Jay. At this point, the Usos came back. They immediately started isolating Xavier Woods and double-teaming him. At one point, Jay sort of... Xavier was kind of bouncing off the ropes, and Jay Uso basically came up and kicked him in the back of the head. Xavier hit a missile drop kick on Jay and then tagged in Kofi. At this point, they started kind of fighting on the outside of the ring. Kofi went up to the turnbuckle and jumped to the outside. However, the Usos caught Kofi and powerbombed him right onto the outside ring mats. Xavier hit Jimmy with an electric chair facebuster for a 2 count. Jimmy countered a flying elbow with a super kick. Then Jimmy locked on a half crab, but Xavier just managed to get to the ropes. Kofi managed to get him tagged back in. He hit a double stomp for a 2 count. The Usos hit a super kick splash combo and only got a 2 count out of it. Kofi dodged out of the way of another splash. Xavier Woods tagged in and hit a flying elbow drop onto Jimmy Uso for the 3 count and the victory. The New Day are the tag team champions. Like I said, far and away the best match of the night, and I'm real surprised that it was on basically the show proper, the first match of the show. I thought it was going to be a good sign for things to come, but, well... Okay, our third match is Baron Corbin versus Nakamura Shinsuke. On the plus side, Nakamura was not jumped during his intro music like he was last month. Early on, Nakamura hit some early kicks. Corbin would roll out of the ring. Nakamura countered a slam into a triangle chokehold. Corbin came back and hit a big boot. Corbin drove Nakamura into the barricade. At that point, again, rest hold started to take over. This was the rest hold show. As Corbin locked on a big bear hug, Nakamura fought out and began hitting his kicks again. Corbin hit a big lariat and got a 2 count. Nakamura countered a suplex into another series of knee strikes. Nakamura went for the Kinshasa, but Corbin countered that into a deep 6. Nakamura came back again, landing more strikes. Tried to go for an exploder suplex, but Corbin low-blowed him for the DQ and Nakamura wins, like I said, via DQ. And then afterwards, Corbin began to cheap shot Nakamura, going after his knee again, and then hit the end of days on him. Uh, yeah. Match probably should have been much, much better than it was. I think people really want to kind of this all-out brawl, and we didn't even get that. We just, again, we got rest hold after rest hold after rest hold, and then an occasional flurry of offense. That's not interesting at all. Okay, now we have the Fatal 5-Way match for the #1 contendership to the SmackDown Women's Championship. It is Becky Lynch versus Charlotte versus Natalya versus Lana versus Tamina. Naomi did come out to do commentary, and she was in her ring gear for some reason. Was she expecting to have a match that night? Anyway, Tamina early on basically did sort of a spear with Becky Lynch. She took Becky and threw her and Becky was sort of in a tackling motion, and Becky flew into Charlotte. Lana then threw Becky into the announce table. At this point, Tamina and Lana began to double team on Charlotte. Becky Lynch came back in, and she and Charlotte hit dual suplexes on Lana and Tamina. Lana broke up a Natalya sharpshooter on Charlotte. Tamina kicked Becky in the back of the head as she was putting the disarmer on Lana. Becky countered a pin into a disarmer on Lana again. Tamina broke that up. Becky, kicks Tamina and puts her in the disarmer, and Tamina taps out. Becky then put Lana in the disarmer, and Lana tapped out. Natalya then rolled up Becky for a 3 count, and then Charlotte powerbombed Natalya and got a 2 count. However, Natalya countered a moonsault by Charlotte and whipped Charlotte into the corner turnbuckle, the lower corner turnbuckle, basically. She sort of made like a roll-up maneuver and went like that, and Charlotte hit her head on the bottom turnbuckle. After that, Natalya covered for the 3 count and the victory. Natalya Neidhart is the #1 contender for the SmackDown Women's Championship at SummerSlam. This match was okay for the most part. I didn't like that all the pins kind of came at once. It's like I wish they'd maybe spread it out a little bit more. And 2, I like the fact that Natalya is getting a shot. I've thought she's been probably the most underrated women's worker on the roster for some time now. But I can't help but shake the feeling that this is going to be like this Dolph Ziggler situation last year, where it's meant to mean something, but it really kind of comes across meaning nothing. I mean, when again, like Ziggler when he went after Ambrose for the championship at SummerSlam, ultimately it went nowhere. Okay, our next match is the United States Championship match. AJ Styles versus Kevin Owens. Early on, Styles had a really cool-looking flying arm drag. It wasn't like a normal deep arm drag. It's like Styles was sort of circling Owens when he did it. Though it's kind of hard to explain. Styles then hit a flying head scissors on Owens. Owens dodged a Styles splash and sent him crashing into the ring post. Owens then locked on a headlock. Yeah, rest holds again. Owens countered a forearm into a DDT. Styles hit a sit-down facebuster. Styles hit a Shiranui. Owens then countered a springboard 450. They began brawling into the corner. Styles tried to do a sunset flip powerbomb. Owens was fighting out of it. So Styles managed to counter that into a torture rack slam and got a 2 count out of it. Styles went for a phenomenal forearm, but Owens rolled out of the ring and then tripped him before he could do the springboard. Owens countered a Styles clash and threw Styles into the ref, knocking the ref out. Styles locks on the calf pressure, but the ref is out. He holds it on. Owens manages to fight out of the calf pressure into a crossface. The ref starts to kind of come out of that. Styles fights out of that, locks on a crossface of his own. As the ref comes to, Owens manages to fight backwards and get a pinning predicament for the 3 count and the victory. Kevin Owens is U.S. champion again, which now really makes that house show victory just look kind of stupid if you're only going to slap it on there for 2 weeks. I think people would have much rather seen AJ Styles win the championship on a show, and then, like I said, when most people could see it. I mean, I know you want to beef up an MSG show because MSG is the home arena for WWE, but aggravating as all get out. The match itself was okay. Again, a few too many rest holds. And I'm not exactly pleased with the ending, but it reeks of the Charlotte-Sasha match from SummerSlam last year, too. Again, where a crossface is countered into a pinning predicament and no one's entirely sure. Okay, our next match is the flag match between John Cena and Rusev. Now, the point of the flag match, or the way to win it, is to take your flag off of a post that's in the ring, carry it up the ramp, and place it on a pedestal. An actual pedestal with flag stand on it, not a metaphorical pedestal. You don't get up there and start talking about how great your flag is. Anyway, Rusev immediately after the ring bell went after the Bulgarian flag. Cena pulled him down. Rusev came back and splashed Cena in the corner, went for the flag again. Cena came after him and hit a bulldog off the top rope. Rusev hit an electric chair drop on Cena while the latter was trying to grab his flag. Rusev hit Cena with a DDT. Rusev countered an AA into a spine buster. Rusev countered a top rope leg drop into a power bomb and then grabbed the Bulgarian flag. But Cena drop kicked Rusev, who then dropped the flag, which shouldn't it have been put back on the post. Instead it just sort of sat there. Like, I'm not entirely sure how this was supposed to work. Cena eventually hit an attitude adjustment. Rusev tried to hit another power bomb, but Cena countered that into an STF. Cena then grabs the American flag and starts trying to walk up the ramp. Rusev grabbed his flag and started going up the ramp. They started attacking each other again. Basically, they each brawled to the top of the ramp, but the flags are still down at the bottom of the ramp for some reason. But Rusev managed to knock Cena out long enough to start setting up two tables next to the American flag pedestal, and began making like they were going to be used for something. Cena fought out of it. Rusev fought back, locked on the accolade a couple of times. Rusev went down to grab his flag. Cena basically played possum and jumped up and blocked. And as Rusev was just about to plant the flag, Cena caught it with his hand. Fought out of it again. Cena hits the attitude adjustment onto the tables, then grabs his flag and plants it for a Cena victory. No real shock here. Okay match a little bit. I mean, it had some nice spots, but again, the problem is it got really repetitive with the whole running to grab the flag, run to grab the flag, run to grab the flag, and then constantly dropping the flag. There had to have been a better way than this. Okay, our next bit is not exactly a match in the strictest sense of the term. This was supposed to be the big reveal on the Fashion X-Files as to who has been trashing Breezango's office. It's then that the Ascension show up, or it wasn't really them. Again, this was another red herring. And then the lights go out, and they're attacked. Tyler Breeze is knocked out, Fandango is knocked out, and then Fandango is dragged away. We were supposed to get a reveal, guys, not another segment teasing for another segment. Jeez. Again, they said this was going to be a reveal, and it wasn't, which just makes this feel ultimately pointless. I would have had this earlier in the show if you're going to do that again. And the match after that is Sami Zayn versus Mike Kanellis with Maria Kanellis. Zayn hit a too-late takedown early up and followed it up with a flying head scissors. Zayn clotheslined Kanellis over the top rope. Zayn went to do a suicide plancha, but Maria broke up and pulled him out of the way. There was a nice little segment where, excuse me, Mike Kanellis was beating on Zayn. Maria blew a kiss to her husband, and he catches it, and then with that hand punches Zayn. It was a nice little spot they did. Eventually, Zayn began to come back, clothesline Kanellis over the top rope again, and eventually did hit his suicide plancha. Zayn hit a flying DDT. Zayn went for the exploder suplex, but then Maria interfered again. Basically, you know, when Zayn does it, he does it flipping the guy into the corner turnbuckle, Maria was behind him, blocking the turnbuckle so he wouldn't throw Mike Kanellis into his wife, basically. Eventually, the ref got Maria out of the ring. That enabled Sammy to hit the Exploder Suplex and follow with the Huluva kick for the 3 count and the victory. Again, 50-50 booking at its finest. This could have easily just been the kickoff show match. That's how by the book and pedestrian it was. And now we've hit the main event for the evening, the Punjabi prison match for the WWE Championship. Jinder Mahal versus Randy Orton. Cool thing at the beginning of the match, as Jinder was making his entrance, WWE actually switched over to the Indian Hindi broadcast team, as they talked a little bit about what was going on. So it was a nice little touch. Like I said, it was kind of cool. And Jinder came out alone, no Singh brothers, because they said they weren't going to be able to interfere in the match once it started. So basically, if you watch the show, you know what the rules are. But if you're not entirely aware, the Punjabi prison match is a bamboo cage inside of a much larger bamboo cage. The interior bamboo cage has 4 doors on it. You have to call for one of the doors to be opened. It will only be open for 60 seconds. If no one goes through that door, it closes and it cannot be opened again. And then you have to climb over the top of the next structure to get out and win the match. Right after the ring bell, Orton jumped Mahal. They beat on each other a little bit. Mahal came back and kicked Orton down. He then called for the first door to open. Really, both guys got kind of close to it, but it closed after 60 seconds. No real shock. They're trying to build a tension here. Mahal hit an armbar DDT on Orton. Mahal began to target Orton's arm with this. He wrapped the elbow around one of the cage openings. It was basically using it like a brace. Mahal called for the second door to open. 60 seconds expired. 2 doors left. Orton whipped Mahal, who jumped on the cage wall and tried to climb it. Orton came back and suplexed Mahal into the cage several times. Called for the next door to open. 60 seconds expired. That door closed. Orton came back and hit a hangman DDT. Called for the 4th door to open. Mahal came back and hit a flying knee. Orton countered a Colossus into an RKO. He starts heading towards the cage when suddenly out of nowhere the Singh brothers appeared. They managed to distract Orton long enough for Mahal to get out of the cage, or at least the interior cage. And I was trying to figure out how did the Singh brothers get in there, because the cage was lowered at that point. However, later in the match there was a spot we'll get to briefly. But basically it was revealed that the Singh brothers are just thin enough that they could actually fit in between the linkings of the cage, the second cage. So that's how that worked. The Singh brothers appear. They pull Mahal out of the cage first. Mahal began climbing the outer structure with the Singh brothers' help, but Orton climbed up, and they managed to fight for a bit. The Singh brothers interfered again. They pulled Orton down from the cage. Mahal began to beat Orton with a kendo stick. Sunil Singh, then, this is where they get to the outside. Sunil Singh, Orton started crying in the cage, and Sunil climbed out of the... they said it was Sunil, and then they said it was Samir, so I'm not entirely sure which one it was. Like I said, wormed his way out of the cage, and was basically holding Orton in place at the top of the second cage, and Orton knocked him off and onto the SmackDown announce table that was on the outside of the ring. Well, you get the idea, outside of the cages. Again, there was some more brawling. The other Singh brother kept interfering. Eventually, Orton got a chair and knocked out both, I believe it was Samir Singh or Sunil again. They kept botching that up. But Orton knocked out both Mahal and the other Singh brother. Orton started to climb the cage. He got just to the top part of it, and suddenly this other music hits. And out comes the great Khali, looking woefully out of shape. I mean, I don't think he's worked a match in, I want to say 3 years. Yeah. Anyway, Khali comes out and immediately starts shaking the cage. Orton has to get back into it because doesn't want to fall down and really hurt himself. He needs to get a better grip. Khali basically then climbs the cage and goozles Orton through the cage, choking him out, enabling Jinder Mahal to climb out and win the match. Afterwards, Khali and Jinder Mahal celebrate as they go up the ramp, and that's how the show ended. In my opinion, the Punjabi prison match was probably the second best match of the night. Not nearly as good as the tag team match, but I would probably put it, like I said, it was the only other match that I kind of enjoyed. I like seeing the Great Khali again, even though, like I said, he was woefully out of shape. And I don't know if he's going to be working any regular matches, if he's just going to be like an enforcer type, which, could work. Like the idea of a new faction starting in WWE, but again, I hope they actually go somewhere with this. I mean, the last faction was the Welcoming Committee, which was the women's group, and that disappeared almost as soon as it started. Show overall, though, yeah, this was really a disappointment. Like I said, 2 good matches out of 9. Not a help. The fact that, again, they teased the reveal with the Brazongo thing, went nowhere. Yeah. I've heard some people calling this the worst show of the year. Nah, I don't know. I'd still say, like, Fastlane was probably the worst show of the year, but yeah, this was not good. I'm giving it a D. Like I said, 2 good matches doesn't warrant enough to give it an F, but going with a D. Okay, so next video up should be a review of Atomic Blonde, which is coming out on Friday. After that, the next video will be the random trade review on the Prince of Tennis Volume 1. Just in the early stages of scripting that. So, see you all next time. Hey guys, tired of me constantly talking only about WWE and NXT? Want to see me cover something like Ring of Honor or New Japan or anything else? Go to my Patreon page and see how you can help make that happen. Links in the description.